If I thought that any of this would be used, I would abandon the film entirely.
Gentlemen, I'm the amazing Randi.
The amazing Randi.
The amazing Randi.
Ta-da!
A conjurer, prestidigitator, liar, cheat, and fake.
The life of Harry Houdini reads very similar to the life of James Randi.
If you're going to get your head cut off, you go to the best guy. Amazing Randi was the best guy.
Randi, you've been going around the country trying to debunk those who say that it's psychic power.
I can't think of that technical term. Oh, yeah, it's bullshit.
What I do is bending or breaking objects.
Uri Geller fooled the pants off them. It was astonishing.
Bend. Look.
Can you do the spoon bending trick?
Does Dolly Parton sleep on her back?
Do you know how many times Randi tried to ruin my career?
You've been taking a lot of medication.
Peter Popoff is a very dangerous man.
In the name of Jesus!
Popoff just seemed to be able to hear the voice of God and know all about people.
John 3784.
He wondered how he got the information.
I dressed as a security guard.
I appeared in disguise.
You!
Randy is trying to say, this is a big hoax.
Duh. I'll take 2 8 right hand.
The man that puts the fear of God into all those psychics. The amazing Randi!
The easiest way to be bigger than yourself is to lie.
I was terrified.
A man who's devoted his whole life to uncover real deception has at the center of his life a deception.
Only one of these people is sworn to tell the truth.
What a situation. No matter how smart or well-educated you are, you can be deceived. I was working at night on radio, and having pets was a little difficult. I slept all day, and pets need a lot of attention. But I found one pet that didn't require that. I had been acquainted with what's known as a kinkajou, lovely mahogany color with a long prehensile tail, and they live only at night. And I went to the pet dealer up in the Bronx. He opened up a cage, and one of them roused himself and came for me, looking very fierce, walking like this. He didn't weigh more than a few ounces. And I put down my hand, and he went over to my finger, and he tried to sink his gums into my finger. He didn't have any teeth yet. And I just picked him up like that, and he gave a great sigh, as if to say, oh, wait till I get my teeth. That was Sam. I simply put him in my shirt, and he lived there for about 2 months in my shirt. And I took him to work. And every now and then, he would poke out at my collar and look around, see what the noise was all about. Sam got away on me, too. In Rumson, New Jersey, I came home, looked into the cage, and he had snuck out somehow. And I thought, oh boy, he'll never be back now, till I got a call from the local grocer. And he said, do you own a big monkey? And I said, no, but close enough. So I went over, and he was sitting in the fruit stand at the grocery, eating fruit. I picked him up, slung him over my shoulder, and took him home. He never got away again. I don't think he wanted to go away either, because the local grocer was not very friendly. When I left home officially, I joined a carnival. It was Peter March's traveling shows. I took a job as Prince Ibis at that time, and I was represented on a canvas banner outside. Wow. Now, it didn't look anything like me because this was for previous Prince Ibis, you see. But I did a magic show inside with the turban on and the little feather in the turban and a fake jewel on the outside. Did I say fake jewel? Yes, I confess, a fake jewel. Then we had Zelda, the lady with the iron feet. We would break a bottle. I would do the bottle breaking, use either a couple of bricks sitting there on the stage conveniently, and take a wine bottle. There were a number of them around the grounds. I don't know where they could have come from, but they were around the grounds. And I would break a bottle and impress people with, can you imagine stepping on a broken bottle like this? Terrible. But then Zelda would put it in this big frame, wooden frame on the stage with a sheet metal bottom. That made a lot of noise, you see, with broken glass on it. It sounded great. Then she'd step in and walk around on it. And from time to time, she would straighten up and hold up her foot, and you'd see that there was a piece of glass apparently embedded in her foot. Well, we used to take all that broken glass and drag it in a sack behind one of the trucks for 6 or 8 miles when we were changing towns, you see. And that takes all the edges off it, you see. Now, the other stuff that we added, that would be kept over to one side, but Zelda would go in there, and the crunching noises, oh, people would really be terrified by it. Zelda was a great star.
I came across the $1 Million Challenge, and I thought that was really interesting, so I wrote a song at that stage called If You Open Your Mind Too Much, Your Brain Will Fall Out, which is basically my song version of the $1 Million Challenge.
If anyone can show me one example in the history of the world of a single homeopathic practitioner who's been able to prove under
Now, the eternal question, is there life after death? Tonight, we'll be meeting people who say they can look back into the past, reach into the future, and move between life and death. First, is this a picture of a dear departed soul? We begin our quest with a lady who sketches what she believes to be portraits of spirit people, and these are examples of her work. Please welcome my first guest, Coral Poge. And this is Stephen O'Brien, who assists Coral with her pictures. And could you tell us now what person in the audience might be able to identify with the spirit picture that you're going to produce?
No, we don't understand quite how this works, but we have to make the link with the spirit and then hope that it will make sense to somebody in the audience.
I see. Well, I'm going to back off the set now and just let you do your thing.
I will try to draw someone from the world of spirit. Stephen will tune in to the same spirit, and if what we're getting makes sense to one of you, will you please answer, put your hand up. Obviously got a lady coming through, a lady who makes me feel terribly, terribly short of breath. She would have suffered either with heart trouble or possibly even have passed with a chest condition, but she's showing me herself a little younger than she went to spirit. She's got lovely thick hair, which I feel in the latter part of her life was much, much thinner. Have you got any contact with her, Stephen?
I don't know if this means anything to anybody. I have heard the name of Butler given to me, B-U-T-L-E-R, but I'm not sure yet, unless I'm told whether this is her or the person we want. I wonder if there's anybody in our audience that either holds the surname of Butler or knows that name well, please. Do we have anybody there? Do we get a voice? Are you Butler?
I am, yes.
That is your name?
Yes.
Who is William Butler that's calling in from the other side of life? Someone that was known as William, passed over quite a while back, I've got to say. I don't know if you've heard of that name, have you? William Butler?
No, sorry.
Don't make it fit, whatever you do.
Hello, sir, there. Is this making sense to you of a lady that passed in the way I described, possible heart condition, angina? I feel she went silently, quietly in her sleep after quite a bit of illness, and she brings back memories here of the war years and the bombing.
I know a man called William Butler.
Good.
Whose wife passed away with angina.
Yes.
But I've got to say that that picture doesn't look like...
The picture doesn't fit with her. That's fine. Sometimes we work like that.
Right. We might have two links here.
We might have, yes. We'll do what we can to sort that out.
Everything that Stephen has said, it rings true, but unfortunately the face doesn't.
I see.
I cannot place the face.
Right.
No.
As long as the details are right, we may be able to piece it together if we can. We're working under very difficult circumstances here. We're trying our best.
Can you? Let's see. Come on, sort yourself out.
We'll try and place the face. What we normally do is try to link through and get the name of the communicator, but we can't demand that. But if you take this back to that connection, you will find you said a photograph, Coral, of this lady, and it's something to do with the bombing. So I would like to say to you, the audience, and the television station to follow you back and have a look and see if you can place her. At least try that.
Certainly will, yeah.
Would you do that?
Will do,
Thank you very much
Thank
indeed.
you.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank you very much, Coral. Now, Coral said that the face she has drawn should mean something to somebody in our audience. Is there anybody here who can relate to this picture? Please vote if you think you recognize the face. Well, 10 people say they recognize this face, which is odd since you said, Coral, that only one person should relate to it. Perhaps this drawing is not as specific as you think? Well, thank you very much anyway, Coral and Stephen.
Have you ever had any paranormal experiences?
I have. One time my couch, I was sitting on it and I was watching TV and it moved 3 feet over.
Apparitions, they're either angels or demons.
You know, I don't. Myself, I don't.
Walk into my house, completely empty, no family around, and next thing you know, I'm passing my little brother's room. There's a little boy about, I would say maybe 5, 6 years old, sitting there looking out the window. And I sat there for about 2 seconds looking at him, and then I thought, well, it's my little brother. I didn't even think about it. As soon as I walked past him, I'm like, wait a second, there's nobody there.
For years, Dallas Patti has compiled ghost stories from the Central Valley of California. She has a number of tales to tell. Next, on Stories of the Supernatural.
I grew up in a haunted house where we heard footsteps walking on the floor, and doorknobs would turn and doors would open and then close. Blue lights danced across the living room and the dining room. And we had an electrician check the place, and he says, your wiring is just fine, but he says, you're known to have strange things happen in this house. I would just chalk it up to that. We've heard heavy breathing. So what we were experiencing, I can't tell you for sure what it was, but it was something of the paranormal. Ghost, apparition, energy. I'm not sure what it was, but it was definitely something, and it has me believing when I hear other stories, because I know what I've experienced personally. And I don't expect other people to necessarily believe me. I think you have to experience something before you can first believe in it.
True or false, real or imagination? Not everyone agrees with stories like this. Here's an opposing viewpoint.
Well, first of all, I don't see any evidence that there are such things as ghosts. If by ghosts you mean the remnants of an individual, a human being, or an animal perhaps, who once lived and has somehow left some sort of a shade behind. I've heard the word shade used as well. I don't see any evidence of that. Willing to be shown. I see lots of evidence, but it's not very convincing. And again, it doesn't have to be convincing to me. It just has to be definitive evidence. Evidence is what speaks, and I don't see any evidence for ghosts.
Well, through the years, I've noticed off and on, I will get an odd picture. In other words, something that appears on the picture that was not in my viewfinder when I snapped the picture. So I have started compiling a little album of these pictures that have shown up. And I was looking back over some that were taken years ago when I was just a kid, for instance. And it was taken at our old house, which, as I stated previously, is haunted. It still is today, as a matter of fact. And there's a picture of me out on the front lawn petting the dog, and that dog, incidentally, would not go into the back bedroom for anything. You could not bribe him. He would not go in there. He was terrified of it. But we were outside, and someone snapped a picture of us, and I happened to look up, and there you can see that the roof of the house, and you can see the attic, and it looks like a mist coming out of the attic. And I thought, well, how neat. So I'm thinking that is, you know, perhaps our ghost, our spirit, is this mist that's hanging over the attic. Then I know I took another picture inside the house as we were going to be selling it shortly, and so I was just taking pictures in there. And I took a picture of my great-grandfather's old dresser, and in the mirror there is something very strange. Some lights it's kind of a zigzag. What it reminds me of, actually, if you've ever seen a missile being shot off from Vandenberg Air Force, and then it takes, you know, makes these, what do I want to say, curlicues in the sky, and it reminds me of that, only these curlicues are in the mirror. Not a face, but more like a curlicue. And then I was out at this old cemetery, Lone Oak Cemetery. It's perhaps one of the oldest cemeteries here in Visalia, I should say Tulare County. It's outside of Visalia. And it started in the 1850s. It's very old. And I was snapping a picture, and when I got the picture back, and it was a cloudy day, I should point out to you, overcast, I was not shooting against the sun, so there's no way that light could have come in and caused this effect. But what it looks like is something, it looks like an apparition. There's a light standing between me and the two graves that I'm looking at, the Crowley graves. And it looks like a person standing. I mean, you can see from the top of the head down to the feet. So I find that one very fascinating. And I shared that with my doctor, and he says, look, that's a ghost, that's a ghost. And I says, why would you say that? You're a doctor, a man of science. Why would you think that's a ghost? And he says, just because science can't explain it yet doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I tend to agree with him. And I've taken other pictures in old buildings or even cemeteries. I took one at the Hadley Funeral Chapel because they were remodeling it. They were changing it into a bank. It's now Suncrest Bank here in Visalia. And I got 2 orbs in that. I was very thrilled to find that.
Well, let's talk about orbs, okay? One of the phenomena that people are producing as evidence, they believe, of ghosts or other beings of some kind is the orb phenomenon. This is essentially an artifact of the digital photographic process. Digital photography is not the only one, because fashion photographers have long been plagued by the fact that when they take pictures in rain or in snow, when snow is falling, that the little flakes of snow are illuminated by flash. And that's the way most of the orb pictures with digital cameras are taken too, usually with a flash, yet with a dark background. And what's happening is the camera focuses on the general scene, and the little bits of dust or of snowflakes or raindrops or insects, and insects are usually the cause of this sort of thing in a graveyard, are illuminated brightly by the flash, but completely out of focus. Therefore, they manifest themselves on the photograph as an orb. It looks like a sphere floating around. So it's an artifact of digital photography. We did it very easily in our library back at the James Randi Educational Foundation by simply scattering some confetti in the air while digital photographs were being snapped. And we got beautiful orbs, but we knew what they were caused by.
And my best one, or at least what I think is my best one, because I really cannot explain it whatsoever, this was out at Smith Mountain Cemetery, and I was taking a picture of a fairly recent grave, and when I got the pictures back, there's this green snake-like creature that is intertwined in the tombstone, and it just kind of comes up out of the tombstone. It's even got an eye. You can see the eye. What caused that, I have no idea. But it's my most fascinating of the pictures I've been compiling.
The problem with examining evidence of that sort is that you have to have some data about how the photograph was taken. Many of these snake-like things are often just camera jiggling that people don't know about. Many people don't know about the photographic process or the videotaping process. And they're confounded when they see something where a shutter is stuck open for a long exposure and the camera moves and you get jiggly marks and whatnot. So again, you'd have to have lots of data about how and where and when and by whom the photographs were taken. Photographs can be very deceptive. They can also provide very good evidence.
Andy, I'm very happy to meet you. Tell me about a bit about your $1 million challenge.
Well, very simply, we have a $1 million offer a prize. They don't have to pay anything. They don't have to compete with anybody. It's a simple prize. If anyone can do any paranormal, occult, or supernatural feat or event of any kind under proper observing conditions, they get $1 million in cash.
Can people from Germany apply as well?
Oh, yes, of course, from anywhere in the world.
And how many people have tried so far?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. It sounds simple, but it's not. We've had thousands of applications, but most of the people don't come back to actually be tested, because sometimes they find out that they don't have the powers and they just get very quiet and they go away. But we have tested something like 433 to date in various parts of the world, and they have all failed, every one of them.
Okay, and are these people, most of them, are they cheating, or do they really believe that they have psychic powers?
No, they really believe. In most cases, we only found, I think, 4 people that actually tried to cheat me, but I've been around for a while, so they have a hard time trying to fool me. But the rest of them, all quite genuine in their belief, but they could not do what they thought they could do.
Okay, so now we have someone who would like to try to get the $1 million. And may I introduce Mark Benecke, and he will show you from the German Skeptics, and he will show you something, a trick, and yeah.
Yes. And then, Randy, you could tell us how to debunk it. How you would debunk it if I would now if I wanted the $1 million.
You have to have the application filled out first.
Okay, so that would be number 1.
That would take some time.
Okay.
Do you have a check? Pardon?
Do you have your checkbook for the $1 million?
They're someplace. No, we're all out here. Oh, really? They're all gone. He already has $1 million, so he doesn't need it.
There we go.
This is
just a euro cent.
1 euro cent. Okay.
There we go. It's 1 cent. Okay, so I've like nothing in my fingers. Obviously, here are rings, but they don't count because I just take my finger here now and just lift the cent.
I see.
So what would you do now to?
Well, people that don't really know very much about euro coins in our country, but we find that these coins are not made of copper anymore. They're now made of steel, and they're copper plated to give them that color, and therefore any magnetic finger will pick it up, you see.
But
how could one have magnetic?
Yeah, who has magnetic fingers? No one has magnetic fingers. Let me try it. I don't think I can do it.
No, I'm sure you can.
I can't.
I'm not equipped to do it either, you see. The point is, we magicians know how to do tricks, and we don't reveal those tricks to the public.
Okay.
But the point is, we would have to test him with a compass, for example, and find out exactly how it's... If he really filled out the application and made the challenge, we would answer it.
So I think I'm not getting the 1 million now, right now.
Not today.
Not today. Okay, so maybe we try it next.
So you do have a magnet in your fingers?
Yes, I do have a magnet in my finger, constantly implanted. So I could change the compass and invalidate credit cards, things like that.
So what exactly is the use of this?
I don't know. The advantage is to do some tricks like this, and then ask kids, like, what would you do to find out if this is a real thing or not a real thing?
Well, so, you see, if you get in a bathtub or a swimming pool and just do this, you'll turn north and south.
Yeah, that's exactly.
It's very convenient if you want to know which way is north and south. And there are easier ways of doing it.
If you're lost in the ocean, you just go like this.
So instead of I don't get 1 million, but you get the 1 cent piece if you want to.
Good.
Because it's a lucky cent in Germany, and it will bring you luck probably. Hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go.
I don't believe very much in luck, but I'll give it a try. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So, thank you very much. And do you think you will? Someone will win the $1 million eventually?
I don't think so, because we've tested this sort of thing for decades now. I'm 83 years of age, and I started doing this when I was about 12, testing for psychic powers. And the fact that we haven't found any psychic powers doesn't prove there are no psychic powers. It just seems to be an indication that there are none. But I'm willing to be shown. I'm $1 million worth of willing to be shown, always.
So you're always open to something new, something behind the heaven and earth that we do not know.
And if I discovered that there was a psychic power, I would get a Nobel Prize. So I can't lose.
Thank you very much, James Randi.
The World Skeptics Congress, Paranormal, Supernatural.
Notice they always lower the microphone for me. I can't understand how that is or why, but I take it in stride. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased to again be present at a Reason rally, and Margaret Downey is one of the persons I have to thank for that, for facilitating it. I want to speak to you today about the farce known as facilitated communication, FC, which involves what's now most often called autism spectrum disorder.